Christmas, everyone, from wherever you are. But since today's going to be a little bit more chill day of the 31 days uploads in December for me, I figured we would do something that I've wanted to do for a while now, and I just pulled a ton of questions just from the last month from my comment section. And so you might see your name here today. We're going to run through 30 questions, 29 of which are from the comment section. The first one, though, has to do with today, so we'll get started real fast. First question isn't actually one that I got in the comments. I got it from a DM from someone. I'm not gonna screenshot that like I will the rest of the comments. And it was essentially, how do I deal with no sale days? And I was honestly planning for today to be a no sale day, which is essentially where you don't sell any inventory. Or like really low compared to what I normally do, because I don't think I might have had one during the time that I wasn't selling at all, but otherwise I haven't had anything since like last December. But I've already sold 2 units. Yeah, it's about to get bright. At $23 total for the day, and it's only 10 o'clock. So I'm a little surprised by that, but honestly, I don't really worry about it too much. You can look into the reason why you're having a no sale day, which might either be that you haven't sent in inventory, so your stuff's not gonna sell, you haven't repriced well, or sometimes it's just seasonal. Like, people probably aren't gonna be shopping as much on Christmas as they do other times in the year, and that's okay. Second question is from Tara Prenniston. Can I apply for grocery or Topical to be ungated before I send in my first shipment? For sure you can do that, except sometimes it will take a little bit longer. What you have to do is obviously get an invoice from a distributor that has 10 or more units of whatever category or brand you're wanting to get ungated in. Then Amazon will have to approve that. But you have to wait for the company to give you that invoice and likely ship out that order. So if you're just wanting to get started right now, you can go do some retail arbitrage and find whatever you can and ship it in while you wait for that to get approved. But you technically can do that, no problem. You just gotta apply to sell it. My lot of funny observations. It's always funny when I see YouTubers change title and thumbnail from the original video. Is the current title more likely to get clicks, or did you just like the new title better? That was on a video that wasn't performing super well, and I do this all the time. If you see my video from like the first minute that I post it to about 5 hours later, I've likely gone through a couple iterations of title and thumbnail, unless my click-through rate is doing super well, which lets me know how often people are deciding to watch the video. And that's one of the most important things for YouTube, to push out your video as much as possible in the beginning. So I'm always changing that, but it is a little bit weird. And having to do with reselling, Cameron Davis said, when I did this with eBay listings, it made them worse. Luckily, that's not a big problem on YouTube, but apparently on eBay, don't want to change your titles. But I don't know, I don't do eBay anymore. Number 4 is from Mr. West Coast Wonder. As a new seller, do you recommend a lower return on investment due to being restricted in a majority of the items you source? And I would say absolutely not, unless you have just tons of capital. As a new seller specifically, I would go for higher return on investment items, because first of all, you're going to need a lot larger room for error than you will if you're an established seller or you kind of know what you're doing. That margin of error is built in when you have higher return on investment items, because if they get priced down or you make a bad buy, you'll have more room for the price to go down or profit to cover your losses. But when you're thinking about when to go for lower return on investments, it all has to do with capital. If you only have a very limited amount of capital, you want to spend that at the highest return on investment that you possibly can. But the more capital you get, that highest return investment that you possibly can goes down, because you can only find so many items at 100%, at 90%, at 80%. And that's why sometimes I'll find stuff at 30 or 40% that I will pick up because I've sold it before, and I have a decent amount of credit right now that I'm not worried about getting paid off, because I'm pretty confident with my cash flow structure right now. Next is from Your Pistola. So you spent 3K in inventory, only got back $1,400 in profit, but if you were buying items that only gave you a 100% ROI, wouldn't that be 3K in profit even after Amazon takes the cut? And that's a good question. This was on the video that I did breaking down my income from last month, November, and that $1,400 of profit was after all fees besides Amazon fees. And the only thing that I'm really worried about when I'm sourcing is Amazon fees and cost of goods sold. I don't really calculate subscriptions into my overall profit, because that would just be a pain in the butt to try to figure out while I'm out sourcing. But the other thing too is I'm looking, just like we said in the last question, for those 100% ROI. If I can't find it, I'm okay going down a little bit more. That's just my target, especially for new inventory. And that's just what I like to say as a rule of thumb. But once you've created the rules and understand the rules, you can start to break the rules smartly, because I would rather make some return on investment than no return on investment if I have the money to be able to do that. Next question comes from Joan Wyatt. What does your wife think of all the space your business takes up in the van? She must be a saint. Let me ask her. Carissa, the people have a question. What do you think of all the space that my Amazon stuff takes up in the van? This was specifically on a video about shipments.
It's fine. I mean, it's no different square footage than the space it took up in our apartment.
What do you mean? It totally is.
In terms of like when you would do shipments and things like that, you took over the whole space.
Yeah, but you had like the whole bedroom and stuff.
I had our whole bedroom, which was tiny, and I just sat on the bed, which is the same thing I do now.
There you go. What about when I don't do shipments?
It's not that bad unless you haven't done a shipment in a while.
Yeah, I try to never have inventory in the cab of a van anymore, because I did that for the first couple shipments and that was a mess.
That's all I have to say.
You're a goof. Next question comes from Versatile. Why do you keep receipts for taxes? And most of that is because of audits. When tax time comes, obviously you can just say you can write off whatever. The tax system technically is voluntary in America, as in you voluntarily tell them how much you made and what you have to pay on that. But they can audit you to see if you're lying, and you want to have proof that you spent what you spent on your business. If it's on a credit card, you don't really need the receipts, but I like to have an itemization of it anyways, and so I'm planning on taking pictures of it. If you watch my video where I did my last shipment, did a 7-question Q&A about shipments in that one, you saw that my receipt organization was not good though. Next question questions from Spinoff. So I'd like to know, does Amazon take out fees before paying you? Yes. Customer pays for the item. Since it's on their platform, Amazon takes out the fees, deposits it into your account as a reserve, and eventually you'll get it paid out to your normal bank account. But they do take out the fees before you get paid. Cole C, perennial commenter on the channel, says, I know this is an old video. Did you end up keeping matching merchant fulfillment orders when repricing, or did you take it off? That was on the first video I did about switching my repricer from Repricing to Be Cool, and I had to create my own rules in that one, but now I actually just have their AI repricer, so I let them take care of all of that, and I don't think it matches merchant fulfilled stuff, but I honestly don't create the rules for myself anymore. I just go based on their AI rules, and have been pretty happy with that. I do have an upgraded free trial for you, link in the description if you're interested in that. All the details are down there. I feel like I'm squinting enough though, so let's move. Next question we got comes from Hunter Peterson. I'm new trying to learn how to make Amazon FBA profitable. I keep having problems buying products, and the next week or even 2 weeks after, the price already dropped due to new sellers. I was wondering what you do when this happens. Maybe wait on it or adjust the price. Let me know. Either way, thanks for the awesome content, man. So what I do with pricing, well, let me tell you what I used to do. When I started selling, and this cost me a decent amount of profit, is I would just always match the lowest price on my repricer, and it would just always race to the bottom. I ended up wasting a lot of money that way, because some stuff, new sellers will come on, they don't know how to reprice like I didn't know how to, and then the price will just tank, and then after all those new sellers sell out, the price will go back up. So if you have access to the Keep a Chart, which you can get a free browser extension on your computer with limited data, but it does have price history, which is the most important for this, you'll be able to see what the price history has been, or you can check camel.com, and if the price is higher than what it's been repriced down to, it'll likely go back up. And worst case scenario, you just like want to hold your price for a month and see if it goes back up to see if you can make that profit before you drop the price and sell out. That'd be okay, but I did just put out a video a couple days ago about why you should sell at a loss so that you can actually make more profit if you want to watch that as well. So I guess the answer is it depends. I like this backlighting, makes it look like I got a halo. Jason74 says, how long until it actually is realized profit? Is it when you ship the items to Amazon or when someone buys it? It's when someone buys the item after Amazon ships it to the customer from their fulfillment center. About 10 days later, you'll get that as available money that you can request from Amazon, or just wait until they pay you out every 2 weeks. I wish I could just ship it to them and they would give me the money. Ashley Hudson asked, do you have any advice on how to organize your payments? She asked this on my video about how I use credit cards to quit my job and just cash flow 100% of my business, so I didn't take a lot of money out of my own pocket, like less than $200 to $300. I organize my payments on the 3 or 4 cards that I have by every time that I do my accounting, which I do twice every month. I'll check to make sure that I have all my credit cards paid off, or that there's no minimum payment due, but that's just something that I built into my habits as I check my accounting, which I did last night and paid off all my credit cards, so I'm not going to pay any interest again this month, and I never have. PJ Johnson says, why not use Keepa and get more in-depth data? That comes in regards to why I use Scout IQ, which is only $14 per month, instead of Keepa being about $26 per month. Scout IQ here, if I scan something, it does have a Keepa chart that is the sales history, not the price history. It has a little bit of that, but it's not very reliable. That's just integrated into the API of the app, so I'd use that instead of Keepa. But as I'm going to scale into online arbitrage, hopefully coming in 2022, that's one of my goals, I am going to just get the normal Keepa, probably do away with Scout IQ and integrate it with Scoutify too. But stay tuned for that. Subscribe. Maria Santos, do you have a video on returns? It's kind of confusing. I don't do any returns that are merchant fulfilled, and I don't have a video on this because the way that I do it isn't honestly that interesting. That's why I'm answering it here. So what I do for returns is don't even worry about it. I have a separate folder in my email that is set up for returns, so when a customer gets refunded for an item, it automatically archives and reads the message and just sends it there, so I have access to that information if I need it. But I noticed when I stopped caring about returns versus when I was really caring about returns when I started selling, my profits and numbers didn't change at all. So I don't worry about returns. If something does come back unfulfillable, I'll just get it shipped back to me or liquidate it now that I'm in the van if I don't want the item specifically. But I used to just get it back to me and I would sell it on eBay when I was doing that, which I have some videos about from probably 6 months ago now. Chu Huang said, great info, Anthony. What size boxes does Amazon FBA accept? Good question. For FBA, unless you have one single item that is over these dimensions, what you have to send in are boxes that the maximum size is 25 inches. So anything up to the medium boxes, maybe large boxes from Walmart. I think large boxes you can get away with. Not extra large though. But it can't be more than 50 pounds in weight, otherwise you can get dinged on your account, unless it's just one single item that's over 50 pounds, and then you can ship it in, but you can only ship in that one item in one box. Scene change. OG Ray says, what do you recommend for buying power, payability or credit cards? I 100% recommend credit cards and cash. I don't recommend payability. If you don't know, I'm planning on making a video just on why I would never use it, because I've gotten this question a couple times before. But essentially, payability is kind of, it's a lending service. You'll hook up your Amazon account to it. It'll see how many sales you got. It'll take a fee off the top, but it'll give you your money in 1 or 2 days, and then after you get paid out by Amazon, it'll get paid back. But the problem with that is, if something happens to your Amazon account, you'll owe a lot of money to payability rather than just Amazon. Amazon recently allowed for asking for payments every 24 hours, which isn't as good. You still have a reserve, but on payability, they take fees off the gross sales, not even just off of your net revenue numbers. that's just way too many fees for me, especially when you can do it on credit cards and pay no interest if you follow a similar thing for me. That's just what I recommend. Well, Ninja says, would it be possible to still listen to Bluetooth music while using this scanner? This was on the video where I got the new Bluetooth scanner that connects to my phone, and yes, it is possible. Audrey W, also always on the channel. What's going on? Hey Anthony, question for you. What equipment do you use to video yourself and your phone on YouTube when you go out shopping and stuff? I use this camera that I'm filming on right now. It's the Canon M50. I do have a link down in the description if you want to check it out. And this microphone that I have is called a D80 D4 Duo. I have a video about all the stuff that I use for YouTube. I did really poorly that I posted at the beginning of the month if you want to check that out. But those two things are super important to me because I like having a nicer quality camera that can give you that depth of field because it's a mirrorless camera. You do have to know how to use it a little bit. And on top, the microphone is two ways. There's two different microphones. So if I turn the camera around, I don't have to lose quality in audio, which you've probably seen, which is what I do all the time. Sorry, that was probably way too blinding. That I can show my screen instead of doing a screen recording, and that saves me so much time in the edit. English with me said, if you're selling the same product with the same listing, how do you get your share of the pie? That's a phenomenal question. That has to do with the buy box. When you go on an Amazon listing, if you just search something up right now, if there's a price on the right hand side and it says buy it now, that's called the buy box. And it's probably not Amazon in that listing unless Amazon's on the listing. It's a third-party seller like me. If there are a bunch of third-party sellers, everyone can share the buy box. There's a rotation of sorts, and this is different for every single listing and every single person who sells on Amazon, because the better your ratings are, the more you sell, the more in inventory you have, the higher percentage chance you have of getting the buy box. But I've just hopped on a listing before with like 1 or 2 items against Amazon at their same price and still sold stuff that same day. Kind of an enigma how it happens, but there is some rhyme or reason to it, but essentially the buy box rotates. Katie Guidros asks, any advice on trying to choose a name for your new LLC? No, I don't have any. I would just choose a name and get to work, honestly. Ask some friends? I don't know. My wife chose ours, so. Christina B, do you still sell moleskin when Amazon is on the listing? Yes, 100% of the time. Doug Moore, why is it that your style is so therapeutic and stressful all at the same time? Props to your style and helpful info. Sorry if I stress you out a little bit. Stressful and therapeutic kind of is how I live my life. I'm working on the stressful part though. And the therapeutic, let's be real. Christopher Coughlin says, hey, what's up, Anthony? What's a good IPI score? Mine is at 493. If that's bad, how do I fix it? Thanks. You might have just noticed if you're watching this video now that if you go into your email, Amazon recently sent you something that looked a little bit scary. It said your storage limits or something like that because they're adjusting their storage limits for Q1 of 2022. Normally, your IPI, which is your Inventory Performance Index, which you can see on Amazon Seller Central. I have a whole video pretty much about this and how to adjust it. But if it's over 500 is pretty good. That's what Amazon deems as like average or good or okay. And you need above 500 to not have any storage limits at Amazon for Q4. However, if you saw that email, I think they just changed it to 400 for Q1 of 2022 because they want more people selling inventory so that they'll continue their sales because Q4 is the biggest time of the year. But the higher, the better. If you're interested in how to do that, check out that other video. Vincent Buffanio said, where do you get your insurance for $50 a month? I get it from the Amazon Marketplace, and this is just the insurance that I need to sell on Amazon. I do have a video about that as well because if you pass $10,000 in sales, you're going to need to start getting insurance from Amazon, and they might just ask you to do it anyways. They updated that a couple months back, but they do have a way that you can do it just on their site. Ali Gutierrez, hey Anthony, how much cushion do you leave when figuring out if you want to buy the product? $10 at a minimum so that you know you'll still profit after shipping and FBA fees. Honestly, I don't normally build in too much of that cushion. That's just why I look for the higher return on investment items. I don't have any like $10 minimum or anything like that because if I know something will sell, there's not really a ton of a need for a cushion. That's why doing your research and learning as much about the product before you send it in, super important by checking charts like the Keep a Sales chart, camel for price, seeing who else is on the listing, if there's any IP alerts, and what the sales rank is so that you can have the best chance of actually just selling out. And so I don't normally have a cushion, but if it's a new product, that's why I like to stay at around 100% ROI because if it drops by a lot, then I have a lot better chance of still making profit on it when I have to sell it for lower than I want. Eric Carpenter asks, hello, do you always match the lowest price on Amazon in order to get rid of the product and make money? The answer to that is definitely no. I used to do that and I lost a lot of potential profit because of stuff that went back up in price after I'd sold out. I was one of the suckers who sold out while other people did what I do now, which is wait. However, I do just have a repricer, which you can watch my Be Cool videos for how to do that. And AI reprices everything for me because you can adjust based on if you want more sales or if you want more profit. And I kind of keep mine closer to the sales side, but more towards the middle now so that I can make sure I'm making as much as I can instead of just trying to sell out because I want to get my money back faster as my business is growing and I'm not needing to take out as much as I have before. Anomaly 158, Anomaly 158 asks, how many credit cards do you have for the business and do you currently carry any debt on them? I have 5 credit cards. I carry debt on one of them that's at a 0% interest rate. But even though I'm carrying that debt, I'm not paying any interest or fees on it. And the net amount is normally around like $2,500 or $3,000. But if we include what I normally have in my Amazon reserve balance, it's closer to about $1,500, which is going down every single month. Alex on Earth, do you do groceries? Yes, I eat food, but my wife normally buys them. Devin Reynolds, hey, I have a question. I found a good product to sell on Amazon. It has a really good ranking and profit, but there are no sellers because it's out of stock. Is it worth it to buy a bunch? That's something that you would want to check the Keepa sales chart for, either through Scout IQ or through buying a subscription to Keepa and seeing how much it sells. You can also go onto sales estimators, which you can just search online. I think there's a couple of companies that put them out. Amazon Sales Estimator. I haven't found they're super reliable the higher rank that you go, but if you watch my video about how to find replenishable products, I talk about that there as well. NYI18, do you find that products in the sports and outdoors category sell well? Watch my categories video and you'll think what I think about that. How would a product rank between 10 to 15K sell? Buy it. If all the other things are good, buy it. And speaking of the categories and replenishable videos, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Merry Christmas. Thank you guys so much for this year. I really appreciate everything that you guys have done for me, and I can't wait to recap it with you in the next week or two. Peace.